beloved friends
All
and
right.
family.
Hey, everybody.
That's my
Um,
daddy. Welcome to Daddy to Daughter. You're invited into this space. You're very welcome into this space. How are you today? We care how you're doing. We care how you're feeling. We're doing this for you. So come on in, relax, get comfortable, grab you some coffee, some water. What else
or,
can they grab, Papa?
or cognac.
Ooh, little wine for your infirmity.
Why not? Why not? Blessed by bread and
Wine
that.
ain't never hurt nobody. It's a little wine, little wine.
Mhm.
I am Elisa Karina, and this handsome thing sitting next to me, being this handsome man, this handsome king, is my daddy. He's my papa, Eric Morrison. Hi, Papa.
Baby girl.
Daddy.
Boy, yeah, girl. All right. All
How
right.
you
All
doing
right.
today?
All right. I
You
would be
good?
amiss if I don't say this. You know, we always talking. I just talked to her, but how's my girl doing? My Leela B, my granddaughter. My daughter has a daughter, and she's my heart. So I want to make sure we give her a little props. Now you go ahead. Go ahead.
Leela Beela is terrific.
Mm-hmm.
She's doing well. She's thriving and love her papa.
Mm-hmm. Feelings are mutual for sure.
Absolutely.
Can I say something? You know,
Please do.
we were discussing earlier, and I think it would be somewhat appropriate to kind of introduce ourselves
I think so.
and tell other people where we're coming from and why we're doing this. Uh, if I could be so bold as to
Please.
start. Uh, this is an idea that was born, I think, born in us probably when my daughter was probably in her 20s. Because if we go back as far as her elementary days, when we would have our talks and
Mhm.
get our donuts on the way to school and all of these. And mind you guys, I want you to know that the memories that I have with her, she often recounts them to me. And then I remember them. They're not always memories that I kept. And that kind of serves kind of what we're trying to do. Because when you're fathering and you're doing mothering and you're doing the things that you need to do as a dad, you're not thinking these are memorable moments.
Right.
But it taught me a very valuable lesson in raising my grandkids and creating memorable moments because it was my kids that taught me that moments were memorable by telling me the memories of the moments they had with us. So uh, just those things. And I think born out of that is a desire to understand. And that desire to understand can only be realized when there is some misunderstandings.
Isn't
And
that? Yeah.
yeah, I think sometimes we want to understand, but we don't want to misunderstand. We want to, how do I put it? We want life to be simple.
Yeah.
We want love to be a direct path.
Yeah.
And what most people don't realize, it goes up a rugged hill called Calvary. And it is not a direct path. So a lot of times with love, it's a journey, and there's a fluidity to understanding how that love fits into your life and how that person's reciprocates that love. That's daddy, daughter,
Mm.
that's husband, wife, that's in any relationship. And in our relationship, uh, it has been interesting. Uh,
Interesting.
Learning how to be a father to a girl, to girls. As many of you know, my first daughter, Satara, is she's a girl, of course, and being a father to girls, being a father, period, is a daunting task for a young man in his 20s, 21, 22 years old. The foundation that I found to be enriching for me is I come from a long line of successful marriages. My grandmother and grandfather was married for a long time.
Mhm.
My Aunt Mary, my dad and his wife was married. So I come from marriage that have longevity to it. So
Right.
I've seen the longevity of marriage. I just never knew how longevity worked.
The fundamentals, the
The
inner.
fundament of being a dad and being how do you get to 40 years in marriage? How do you get to 30? How do you raise a family and not how somehow or another break the marital relationship so that the family is not broken. What sacrifices does a man have to make, or a mom have to make, in order that we don't break the relationship, thereby breaking our kids? So uh,
So, Daddy,
I
why
go,
didn't you know those things?
I'm sorry, go ahead, baby.
Why didn't you know those things? Are those conversations that you never had?
Well, you have to remember, and of course you remember, but just so I can catch people up on my history, I was actually orphaned at 7 years old. My sister, my brother, and I, seven. I was seven. My brother was nine. My sister was 11, and I have two younger sisters that were 3 and 5, and in that range. And my mom was shot to death when I was 7 years old, December the 6th, 1966. So at that point, we were orphans. Now, when we didn't stay orphans long because my grandmother, my paternal grandmother, my mom's mom, raised us, and she did a wonderful job. And I stayed with my grandmother. All three of us, Eddie and Deborah and myself, stayed with my grandmother. And I had two other sisters who had a different father, who stayed with their grandmother.
So how many
And
kids were there in total,
there
Papa?
were five total when my mother was killed. We
And
were in the house when it happened. She was shot to death, and we pretty much saw her take her last breath, all of us as kids. So I come from trauma.
yeah,
I come from trauma. And the amazing thing is that I never had any kind of formal counseling
yeah.
for that trauma.
Right.
The counseling I got was the counsel of the Lord and the comfort of a family. And the having gone through that experience, uh, I was fortunate enough to have a wide village of individuals who cared enough about me, including males and females, in which there were some men that carried the qualities that I thought a man is supposed to have and impress those qualities upon me. And I can kind of enumerate. Number one, a man takes care of his family. Whatever he has to do, he takes care of his family. And number two, he doesn't abandon his family.
What defines a family for a man to take care of?
A family is, when I got married, I knew that marrying, for me, the way I define it, I have a clearer definition than what I had then, but marriage to me was based on the biblical standard. And the biblical standard for me was that a man was supposed to take care of his home. And how was that? Financially, emotionally, and spiritually. Spiritually, especially lead, not drive, not cajole, not coerce,
Right.
not manipulate, but just simply lead. Okay. So in that, I understood the three basic things that I learned from my uncles and my cousins and all of those that influenced me where I grew up was just you have to have a job. That was basically, if you did, I didn't learn how to love a woman. I didn't even learn how to raise a kid.
So
I just learned.
I want to go back because I just want to make sure that the audience is clear on family. So when you say family, you're talking about the woman that you have centered in your life and any
Right.
kids that you have fathered. That's your
That's related to that.
family.
Now, family can be yourself. It can be singular or it can be plural in the sense that it can be a mom and her three kids.
Okay.
Or we don't want to. I don't want the explanations that I give you to make anyone that we're listening to feel excluded.
No, not at all. You're simply speaking to the focus of one's existence. And
I'm talking about the gender influence of my upbringing. The man, the thing that I got from my upbringing as a man, as it relates to being a family.
I got you. Okay.
This is what constituted a family if you were in a relationship with a wife, is that the man, number one, has to have a job and take care of his family. Don't matter whatever happens, he got to take care of his family. That was the basic thing that I knew without any biblical understanding, without any infusion of spiritual truth. It was just simply the basic understanding of this is what a man is and what a man does. So if you're going to call yourself a man, you got to have this.
Which is how you raised me as well.
Basically, yes, and now because of the way I was raised, is my sister and my brother and I stayed with my grandmother, and I just realized this, Elika. I was talking with my sister a couple of weeks ago when I was home, and we were talking about we all left by the time we were 18.
Yeah. Yeah.
I left. My brother and I went in the army. My sister went to college. I went to the Air Force. We all left. We were not taxing on my grandmother no longer, or my grandfather no longer than we had to be, and we were uh, have been gone. And I think that we all, with my brother, rest in peace. We all were successful in our own right, having come from the traumatic experience that we
Yes.
came from.
Yeah.
Now, how does that trauma affect my relationship with you and my girls? Initially, I think when you lose, the greatest thing to keep from losing from someone who doesn't understand God's protection is you control. The best way to not lose in your mind is to control whatever you have. You understand? To control, to ensure purity, not just in a physical or sexual sense, but purity and understanding life. I want it. That is the, how can I say, that's the caveat or the catch to being a great father, is that you have to understand that you can comfort but not control. You can cajole and lead, but you can't bruise and beat. It's a very fine line, and coming to that fine line, coming from where I came from, was difficult. And it was difficult because when you don't have an example of what you're supposed to be, then you don't know what you're becoming.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Then you're defined by the individuals that expect that of you.
And that's a lot of weight. That's a lot of responsibility to carry, especially when you don't have a paradigm to pull from. You don't have an example to pull from. You don't even have someone to go and talk to about the weight that you're carrying. That's heavy. I want to go back because I cut you off. You were on a good trajectory though. You were sharing how the men in your life established manhood as three things, but I cut you off. You said the first of which was taking care of your family.
Have a job.
The two, have a job. Okay.
Care your family.
Uh-huh.
And don't bring mess to your house.
Don't bring mess to your house. And I honestly, Papa, you were very consistent in that.
Mess can
Always.
happen all around you, but you don't bring mess, and you don't tell your kids your problems.
Never did. I don't ever remember you saying you didn't have. Even if you didn't have it, like if I were to come and ask you for something as a little girl, you would say, maybe later, or not right now, or let daddy think about it. Let daddy see a few things and then I'll let you know. I don't ever remember you saying, I don't have the money. I don't have, I can't do it ever.
Can I tell you why? Can I tell you why? Can I tell you why?
Please. Yes, sir.
That was
Sorry.
that was deliberate, and
Yeah.
deliberate because I heard no. I mean, you see, what people don't really understand is that you don't have to say no for me to hear it. No is not an
I think that's
absolute
everybody. Yeah.
end of all things, but no becomes amplified when you feel rejected already.
Yeah.
See, most people don't equate rejection to the loss of their mother through no action of their own. They don't equate rejection through maybe the loss of their father through no action of their own. But rejection takes on many different forms, and when it takes on different forms, it infuses the personality of the individual, so that anything that they do is to avoid rejection. You understand what I'm saying?
I do. And so I want to make sure that we're all on the same page. The experience you had as a child, watching your mother be killed and shot to death, left you with feelings of rejection.
Yes, very much so.
And abandonment.
There were other factors, but that in itself is the root.
Yeah.
The other stuff was just the fruit. But the root of it is, you don't know, my mom never rejected me, but when you don't have one,
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? How do you feel? I don't know if I can explain it in words or in terms, but anybody out there that's ever lost someone like that, I think you can understand what I'm saying, because it is an expressionless emotion,
Expressionless. Yeah.
that can only be understood from the inside. It's not woe is me. It's not blame this for the way that I was. It's observations that have come as a result of my growth and my years of experience and my willingness to stay teachable,
Yeah.
because trials make you stubborn
If you let them. Yeah.
if you let them. So that in itself gave rise to who I was as a man, as well as your mom. When you don't have an example, and then you add the infusion of my relationship with God and my desire to do what God wanted me to do, to be the husband, that you find yourself being made in the image of all those that you love versus the image of God.
Which, when it's all said and done, is also a frustrating place, because it is not authored by God. It's not your true identity.
You become what the Bible calls a man pleaser.
Yeah.
Now, I don't necessarily am such an enemy of that, as long as the man you're trying to please is pleasing God.
Hmm.
Because in some respects, to please God, we have to be pleasing to men, because he's a pleasure, and if we're in him, we should be a pleasure too.
Do you believe that there's such an alignment, Papa, where um you are in alignment with pleasing God, and the person you're in relationship with is in alignment with pleasing God, and therefore you both experience pleasure from each other because of your alignment in pleasing God?
Oh yeah, I think that's very much possible. I think that's the ideal situation.
Yeah.
I think that's the situation where the scripture talks about each joint supplying the other joint and
Yes.
causes nourishment to the body.
Yes.
And the
Yes.
Bible says that causes to be edified in love. It's the mutual contribution. What happens in life a lot of times is because we don't know what we have, we don't contribute. We're
Oh,
trapped. We're trapped in this past of being minimal,
when you say we don't know what we have, you mean we don't know what we have because we don't know who we are.
basically. And and the thing about it is, I think you cannot.
Yeah.
I could not know who I am now and be effective as a father, minister, friend, whatever I am, if I did not have some understanding of how I became this,
Yeah.
or how I did. See, most people want to know why stuff ain't happening, but you need to ask yourself, why haven't you become the person that could make it?
Ay, ay, ay.
Because to me, for God to give me a vision and not give me the wherewithal within myself to make it happen,
That.
because He's the fullness of all fullness. So if He can give you that idea, don't get mad that it didn't come to pass.
Mm,
Ask yourself, why didn't I mold myself into the position to
mm.
receive? I
That.
want to be married. I want to be in a relationship. Wow, you got to do some molding. And there's got to be some rough edges come off. And then there are parts of your life that you're going to consider to be your personality that you think that person is invading.
Yes.
If
Hmm.
that doesn't happen, you're not dealing with your principalities. Every relationship comes to that. You and me, all my daughters, we've come to a place in our relationship.
Yeah.
Whatever rules my life or whatever rules your life is going to collide in our relationship. And it really depends on how I deal with that and how I navigate that and how I either use that as an asset or
Right.
a setback. I don't know if I'm making sense or not.
100% sense. 100.
So I said all of that to collapse that. Then I really want to hear from you. Uh, the more I learn about where I came from, the better I can see where I'm going.
Mm. To thine own self be true.
Yeah. Just an example, my sister and I was talking. My sister Deborah, uh, My daughter Satara is Deborah to you guys.
Yeah.
She was and still is a guiding light for my brother and myself. She set the tone, and I told her this much. She set the tone for our success. She left the home when I was in the ninth grade because she's 4 years older than me and went to college.
Mhm.
She got her degree in 3 years. She got her master's degree. Married a great husband, built
Yeah.
a wonderful family, but she was a beginner. My brother did the same thing. So my success was influenced greatly by my mother, big sister,
Yeah.
and we didn't get along. We did not get along.
But I wanted to
We
pause
were
here. Shout out
good,
to all the good big
big,
brothers and sisters
almost
in the world.
definitely.
I want you to know that you are the difference makers. Y'all are
Mhm,
the ones that really hold down the fort a lot of times. Y'all don't
mhm.
get as much shine as you should get. I just want to take a moment to say thank you. If your siblings, your baby siblings, your younger siblings don't say thank you, from my heart to yours, I have the greatest big sister in the world. And I am immeasurably grateful for her example, her protection, her leadership, her guidance, all the stuff that big sibs are. Y'all are phenomenal gifts to us, and we love you and appreciate you. So thank you. Truly, thank you.
But here's the thing that's
But
really
you were
powerful.
saying y'all butted heads. Okay, let's hear more
We
about
butted heads. Now let's go back to why we butted heads. I didn't know her experience.
right.
I didn't understand where she was coming from. Little to my, you know, life is so short. The span in which we exist as human beings is such a short, even though we're eternal creatures.
Yeah.
This lifespan is so short. And you think that the only thing that has happened within your birth realm.
Isn't that funny? It's so it's so crazy.
And, and you judge life by
Yeah.
everything that happens within your birth
On
realm.
that
It's like
little frame, based on
your,
that
you,
little frame.
yeah, your experience with me when you were younger. Of course, you're older and much wiser now. When you were younger, was based on that little encapsulated. You never said, "Well, where did Daddy come from? And why is Daddy acting like that?
Well, I did ask those
You know,
questions.
why?
I
Was that? Was that?
did ask those questions
Yeah.
to myself.
Right, right.
There
But
were
I'm saying,
certain,
but
I'm
the
sorry,
questions you were asking were not to get the answer that I'm giving you now. That was a naive question of a young girl
yeah.
that's trying to figure out a way of getting what you want. You understand what I'm
I wanted
saying?
to understand you, Papa.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
We'll go into that. We'll go into that. I want you to continue your
yeah.
thought.
But uh, what was I saying? I lost it. I'm sorry.
Essentially, you had not considered that she had her
My
own
sister's
experience.
experience, her own experience, and uh, I didn't realize being the gap, the age that we had, her childhood experience and what she saw was totally different from the
Yeah.
eyes of an 11-year-old versus the eyes of a 7-year-old. And I
Yeah.
look at Leela, I look at my granddaughters and Aria and Zara, and all of them are right at 11 years old. That was Deborah's age. And I never saw it like that. Like it was amazing. And then I never knew her birth to 11 years. I only knew her from the time I was a kid. And she was born and raised in my grandmother's house. She was my grandmother's baby. Because I never understood their relation. You know, it's amazing how protected you are from information that you couldn't use even if you didn't know it.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how God will only reveal to you information that you will use. Most people live in their hidden place.
In their shadow. In
There
their,
you go. And I won't live in the shadow.
I can't live in my shadow.
No way.
I get
No
that
way.
from
No. And
you.
it's refreshing. It's also somewhat frightening
Yeah.
because
It's
you
frustrating.
don't know how real you can be with people.
Mhm.
Because real is frightening.
Mhm.
And it's like I told your mom today, we were talking and discussing something. I said, there's nothing you can ask me that you won't get total transparency. Because I love every man, but I fear no man.
Who is there to fear?
You understand what I'm
Man is
saying?
there to
Because
fear.
sometimes we're reticent to give answers, and you don't give answers to hurt, you don't give answers to wound, but sometimes answers are not agreeable to what the person think they are too.
Fear of judgment, fear of consequence, fear of repercussion, fear of someone using the very thing that you told them against you in a later conversation or to prove a point or
You know, that happens, that has happened to me in times past so often. And I used to make me very angry because I thought it was weaponizing my weaknesses.
mm,
And in my rewiring,
mhm,
renewing my mind,
mhm.
he said, the Holy Spirit, I went over that. Why do you keep pointing out, why does this person keep doing this?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And he says, well, may I remind you, you told me to. That's what the Holy Spirit said. May I remind you that you told me to. I just didn't use the person you wanted me to. Make sense? Sometimes the thing that we hear
Wow.
monotonous over and over again, you say, I'm so tired of hearing this. Why I keep hearing it? Why is it that I keep hearing it if it's not really what I need to hear?
So you're saying there's purpose even in that.
Yes. I remember there was a period of time, and I'm going to bring it close to home. There was a period of time
Hmm.
where I felt there was distance between you and I. And
Yeah.
there was some circumstances. It's been so many years ago. We'd have to go back to your 20s to find this in the catalog. But there was some distance. There were some reasons why I felt that you were justified in your stance, and then there was also some reasons I felt like I was not justified. But
You were
if
doing,
I be
yeah.
tired, fatigued, frustrated, there were a lot of outside circumstances that really had nothing to do with you and me,
Mm,
that were influencing my personality. Was that fair to you? Of course not. And of course, I've repented to you
mm.
vociferously since then. But at the same time, when life catches you in those situations and you start asking yourself why, and when you start asking yourself, why does this keep happening? You realize life teaches you that the Holy Spirit keeps repeating what you ask Him to tell you,
Mm.
but He never gives it in the form you want to hear it until you're ready
Until,
to receive it.
yeah.
He'll give it to you any kind of way until you're ready to receive it. And when you're ready to receive it, you'll sit down and have talks like you and I did.
Yes.
We'll clear the air. You understand what I'm saying?
I
But
do.
then I'm like, nah, I'm the dad.
Mhm.
And you're like, oh, this is not fair or whatever, whatever your situation was, we're in those corners. But then what drove us to accountability
Mm.
was wanting the best of ourselves, therefore wanting the best of us.
Yeah. I'm just like you in that way.
Very much so. So, lot been taught. I don't want to go into a whole lot of gory details of my past because I think if you've been around for any time and heard anything from my preaching, you've heard quite a bit about my testimony. But uh, the the whole thing about understanding manhood, I think as a man and as a husband, as a father, you're taught to be a husband. The scripture gives you the skeleton.
Yeah.
Your wife gives you the meat and
The meat,
bones, and your children gives you all the stuff that's necessary to make that a body
the
or to make
blood
that.
flow, the veins, and
There
the
you go. It gives you all of that. But the scripture gives you the skeleton, but it doesn't necessarily give you the bone. And then the thing about it is, most of us as young, uh, I would say black men, white, black women, we don't have the traditional family setting in which to draw the paradigm to build a home.
right.
You guys were fortunate to have a mom and a dad so that there's clearly defined in your mind roles.
Clearly defined and has been the thing that is the standard for me. And if it's not that, it's not that. And if it's not that, I don't want it.
But it's hard to move away from that.
It's hard to move away. I don't want to move away from it though, because it works.
Yeah, it does. It does. But here's the thing about it is, it's not what I saw.
Which is just phenomenal to me, Papa. Like, it's phenomenal to me that you are who you are, that you pursued a life that you never saw in person, you never saw in color, you never saw modeled. You
Mhm.
pursued a life and accomplished a life, relationships, a family that was not even modeled before you. And that's not to say everything was pristine and it was perfect and were no
Right,
mistakes,
right, right.
but you have been so incredibly successful in navigating your vision without a pattern. It's like you
I,
created this masterpiece without a pattern, without.
you call it the right thing, masterpiece, because it was pieces.
It was pieces.
I was observant enough, aware enough that
Hmm.
when I walked into a person's situation and I liked what I saw, and then I saw the ingredients that made it that way, and I said, okay, I want that. I saw dads that spent time with their daughters, that told their daughters they loved them, that gave their daughters stuff that other men, no little boy could walk up and give you anything that your dad had already gave you. This is what
Okay.
I saw it in microcosm and in bits and pieces, like TV, maybe in person, maybe in this person's house, how I wanted to live. And being an imaginative, creative, like you guys are songwriters and all of that. I don't sing and all of that, but
You
that
think?
creative mind was the ability to put all of that together and make it a singular vision for my life and for my family. It was, it was, it was difficult in that I had to have somebody who understood the role of what I was trying to do. And in many cases, because you're dealing with two human beings, it wasn't always the easiest thing. So, because sometimes you're working against your own best interests to create this. So, I won't say I was absence of example. I just was not privy to having the singular example that I
Right.
thought would be that's impactful that you guys had. You
Right.
know, you guys spent the night and went to other couples and other family members' houses who were couples, but there was no paradigm better than the home you came from.
None. Haven't seen one yet.
So if your home was broken and you went to your Ellenette's house or you know, grandpa and grandma's house in Philly, you wouldn't want to come back to this paradigm.
Right.
You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And if you were a little girl, you would go away thinking, that's what I really want.
Mhm.
I don't want what my mom and it wasn't that the environment I was in was bad. My grandmother and grandfather were awesome people, great. They're the greatest people in the whole world. But I just wanted something different for my family. And I knew to get something different, you have to be something
You were so different and something so different and so consistent. Um, that as a girl coming up and beginning to date,
different. Yeah,
have relationships,
that was hard for
I honestly thought that there were more men than not like you.
me. I get it. All right. Now let me say something, then I'm gonna let you finish.
Okay.
That was hard. You
I
guys
know,
did
Papa.
it. That
Yeah.
was I didn't do very well. It's most cases. In some cases, I had a few incidents, but I didn't do very well because I read people very well. And not that I read people, I read the people they were connected to.
Yes.
You understand what? Because when you're in love, I ain't thinking about my wife's mama or daddy. You understand what I'm saying? You ain't
Yes,
thinking about
Papa.
them other than being nice and making sure you get a good impression. But you look at them and say, oh, if I go into a long term relationship, that's who I'm going to be with.
I
And
just,
go ahead, go ahead.
call it my lack of experience, call it, I don't know, but you
You
were,
were a baby.
what,
You were a
Papa?
baby. You
Yeah.
were a baby. You
But
was trying.
I really just thought, well, if I like him and he likes me and he's kind and he's confident and bold enough to come and talk to my dad about dating me, he's got
Mhm.
to be a good guy and he's gonna be like my dad. As long as I'm like my mom, I'm gentle in spirit, I'm
Mhm.
I'm
Mhm.
willing to submit and willing to work with and willing to be a good partner and all, then of course he's gonna be like my dad.
Mhm. No, 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 no. And I don't say that at the, how can I say, at the belittling or saying
No, not
anything.
at all. No, not
I,
at all.
I mean, I just think that a person's value system, it's hard to figure that out when you're in your 20s.
Yes, sir.
And the only way that when you really want to know in that age bracket is you really got to take a good look at his parents
Yes.
and the surroundings. And
Yes.
you got to be real with yourself.
Yes.
You understand what I'm saying? If he's slim and muscular now, and you look over at dad, and dad is a little extra, that's where you going. I mean, you can say, no, he ain't gonna, yeah, yeah, mom. It's just, and we're talking physical attributes, and that's not negative or positive, it's
No,
just
no, no.
simply,
Yeah.
and then you look at the environment of the home.
The environment.
Because the people you go into relationship will try to enforce the environment that came out on you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's like I told my wife, I came out for a reason. I don't want it to look like where I came from. If it looked like where I came from, I should
Talk.
have never left.
Real talk.
I don't want my house. I don't want my car. I don't want my appearance. I don't want nothing to look like where I came from. Okay, so, uh, and a lot of times people, individuals see that as being, you think you better, or why would you? I have no criticism of the homes and the places that
No
I've been.
criticism at all.
Not criticism at all. I'm appreciative and thankful, but it's just not what I want.
It's not what I want. It's not what I value, or the system of value is very, very different from mine. Very different from what I prefer, very different from what I value. It's just different.
And I think many people, they fall into this comfort zone, and I think it's really driven by fear, because there's a certain element of trepidation that comes with being 20 years old, moving to California,
Yeah,
and having two kids by the time you're 25 years old,
I could not
and you're working three or four different jobs, you're hustling, and at the same time you got a wife that's expecting you just to be a 25-year-old husband, but you got the responsibility of a 40-year-old.
40-year-old man.
The
Yeah.
stress, the not having a source to talk to, not having, I mean, I had nobody. It's like being on a desert. Now, would I trade that experience? No, but would I like to have had it differently? Yes.
What why do you think it was that way for you, Papa? What was God doing in you? What
I
was
think
Mhm.
I think the first thing is, a man guards the privacy of his home.
Mhm.
Whatever was broken in my home, it was not the business of anybody else that was going on.
Mhm.
And so that's part of his banning the house.
Yeah.
Any man that allows the trouble of his home to get out of his home
Come on.
without looking for a solution. It's different if you're going out and say, hey, I need some counseling. That's different. But if you're just going out criticizing your situation and being negative about your situation, you're cursing your home,
Yeah.
and you're continually bringing that curse back up. So I was kind of, for lack of a better word, spiritually entrapped to
Mm.
learn. I had to learn. I had to hear God. I had to be intuitive. I had to be forgiving. I had to be passive at moments and aggressive at other moments. It was it was all out survival. It was tough. It was tough. You guys never knew it was tough because I didn't wear tough, but it was. I carry the scars of that, not the scars. Yes, scars. I carry the scars of the healing.
Heal the wound.
I carry the scars of that experience with me, not so I can feel sorry or whatever, I carry it with me because every time I touch it, it reminds me of the price. It reminds me of what it took and what it takes to minister to other people that are there too. That it's not an easy. That's why I'm not hard on people when they don't change right
There
away.
it is.
That's why if you
There it
fornicate, keep on fornicating, I'm not gonna come tell you, you know, you slow down, dirty fornicator. That's between you and the Lord. But if you do whatever, you know, whatever you're doing that's outside of the realm of God's purpose and plan for your life, and it's counterproductive to where you're going, and you keep doing it over again, I'm not the one to bash you. I'm
right.
the one to encourage you. So you just got to find that. You got to find your hope. You got to find that thing that says a reason to go on.
So I think what I understand you're saying, my question was, why do you think you,
I don't know if I
why do
answered
you
your
think your
question. I
life,
just
no, I think you did though. Why do you think your life was made up the way it was made up? You're a 25-year-old man with 2 kids and a wife to take care of. You have 3 or 4 and 4, even 4 jobs at one time. No real like main resource to tap into other than God, other than the word.
Mhm.
What I
Well,
heard was, because it makes my the experiences of my life give me relevancy to the experiences of others' lives. The
for
experiences of my life that have been tough and arduous and tasking um afford me a grace towards others that I otherwise wouldn't have.
sure. I agree.
Is there
You
more
just
to
said,
that?
oh, I don't need to say anything else. That encapsulated everything. It does. It makes you merciful, and it makes you less judgmental, and it gives you what I call long suffering. I didn't have that before.
Mm,
I'm a very long suffering individual
you are, Papa.
because
You
there was one time you remember as a little girl, Daddy said, "Let's go." No grace. I'm upset. You know, you understand what I'm saying? And
yes.
at the time I was going through it, it was necessary. The discipline was necessary for me,
Mhm.
and to set some kind of boundaries of discipline. But now, understanding how I don't really know how you or in other individuals have processed their painful past. And I refuse to be another cut in
Yeah,
that painful past.
I love that, Papa.
No matter how you might express that painful past to me, I'm only there for that temporary split moment that maybe I can give you something. Something very interesting happened
Hmm.
while I was flying. As you know, I had a very interesting journey back from my trip.
Hmm.
I was sitting down, and this young white lady, I hate to use her race, but I want to use her
Relevant.
race
Hmm.
into help because it is relevant. She came, and it was so many, it was so crowded. You know, I had a seat on the end, and she came, I had my bag in the seat. She says, "Anybody sitting?" I said, "Oh, no." You know, I wanted to say yeah because I wanted that space, but you know how it is. I got to be totally honest. So she sat down, and she just started to talk about her life and asked me about what I was doing. So we just started to have this conversation. And she started to talk about, she was in her 50s,
Mm.
and she had no kids. She had no husband. And she lived in she had her own 75 acres, assisted living. I mean, not assisted, but subsistence. She lived in
Like off
partially
the grid.
off the, yeah,
Mhm.
living off the grid and all of that and everything. And at 50 something, she was going back to that farm alone and not having nothing.
No kids, no husband.
Is no kids. She has no kids, no husbands, no other, none of that. And my heart went out to her. You know, although she talked about her situation as though she was very happy
Hmm.
and all of that, I could feel her
Hmm. Hmm.
lack of human connection and the need to have that human connection. My battery's going up.
Okay.
So,
Gotta wrap it up. Okay.
okay. So,
Okay.
I said that is that's why I was so desperate for relationship.
Oh,
That desperation for a relationship delivered me from a lot of things that I don't think I would have been delivered from without having the difficulties and the situations I've had in relationships.
That cause, the pursuit of happiness, pursuit of relationship, pursuit of safety, security, familyship, friendship, that cause, like you, and we can't really get into it, but that's where we'll pick up next time. You in one of our conversations, I remember you saying something about not necessarily running from the past, but running towards, running for something, having a cause, having a reason, having a purpose.
Right, right,
What it
right.
sounds like you're talking about now, like not necessarily knowing exactly how it's going to play out or exactly how it's going to look, but knowing I need relationship in my life. I need family. I need whatever it was that you felt like you needed was
Exactly what
a
you
driving
said.
force behind you.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm. Yeah, yeah. It was. I have to make this work
I have to make this.
by any means necessary. I have to make being a husband work. I have to make being a father work. I have to make and I'm talking relationships, not occupations. I have to make being a friend work.
Right.
Being a spiritual father to some, I have to
Yeah.
make it work. And so I think when relationship is the basis, resource becomes available.
Okay. That's okay. That's going to take us into a whole nother conversation. I don't want your situation to die. So you are you fine with the turning it off right here?
Yeah,
Are you,
let's go ahead and we good.
because
We
I don't
good.
want it to die in the middle of your
No, no, we can go ahead and let it. We can go ahead and cut it off right here. We can talk to him the next time we see him.
beloved friends and family. Listen, we're gonna sign off because we don't want his situation to
My
die
battery's gonna die.
filled
I'm
of
sorry.
adults. Okay.
I need to
But
charge my battery.
we're gonna pick this up where we left off. I'm gonna talk a little bit more
Okay,
about my experience
sure.
of having this beautiful king as a father, what it's been like, how blessed I am, the times that haven't been as clear to me as they are right now in terms of his um who he is as a man and as a person. And we're just going to allow you to get to know us a little bit more. I hope that's okay. Yeah, I hope so. Hey, listen, like, comment, subscribe, put in the comments what you'd like to hear us talk about. Put in the comments questions you may have. We are here for you. We have these conversations all the time, just he and I, but we decided to do this to open our world up to you. So we invite you in to the conversation. Leave your comments, leave your questions, like and subscribe and share and follow. And what, Papa?
Can I tell him? Can I give him a little bit? I don't want to give him too much, but there's some
Yes.
future things that we're going to be doing.
Mm.
It's not going to be just me and her. It's
Dad,
going to be. It's
you
going. Huh?
you
Okay.
give
Okay.
you giving away too much.
All right. Listen, like, share, let people know, tell people about this. I promise you, you will be blessed by this. You'll be blessed by the fact that this is not pretentious. This is heartfelt, real stuff. And our true desire is to see you blessed, whole, and
Yeah.
enjoy life on its highest level.
Oh, that was great, Papa. That
All
was
right.
great. Hey, listen, love, be loved, and let love. Take care of yourself and
And
your
your
neighbor.
name. All right. God bless you. Bye bye,
We love
guys.
you. God bless you.
All right. All right, now.